Delusion Rehab Podcast. My name is Lauren, and if this is the first time you're joining, know that this is a podcast full of delusions to tackle together. No one is alone in this. We are all Delulu in our own right. So let's start talking about our delusions and how we can get through them. I'll start off by asking the toughest question I've been getting lately, which is how am I? Um, I'm in the thick of it. And I know a lot of people like this right now that is not a rare story in the month of May, that everything is changing circumstantially. There's this shift from the beginning of spring activities to now you're in the depth of it. Before you know it, it'll be summer. It's been starting to feel very spring/summery in Connecticut lately. So it's you feel that change and that drive in the timeline of life, but then at the same time, we don't get a lot of time to really think about how we are changing as people. And I find I'm often hard on myself because I don't feel 100% where I want to be, or I don't feel as happy as I thought I should be right now. My heart doesn't feel as content as I thought it would be. And so when someone asks me, how am I? My real answer is I would love a week to just sit and process my whole life. um, Mainly because I've been so deep in the pace of life that I haven't gotten to reflect on how beautiful things are. I've learned that as someone with ADHD, that is something that happens often, that there's not a lot of contentment because there's a lot of rushing for the next thing. There's a lot of distractibility and a lot of scatteredness in how we think. And I know that people that don't even have that diagnosis have that issue in their lives too. So, this is probably a really good podcast for people that are like secretly thinking to myself, I'm doing so much for everybody else around me. Can someone do something for me? I will jump right into it with giving the winner of the month of May for the pod, Amanda Finn. She is someone that I look up to in this light. She seems to do everything for everybody and has a good spirit and heart about it. And that is actually kind of how I want to start off this pod today, because there are people in our lives that we feel strongly about, like I do with Amanda, where she puts her heart out there, being a servant. And I know a lot of people in my life that also feel like they want to be that, but they don't have the energy to carry it out the way they'd like to. And so I had the opportunity to speak with someone at the conference for Growth Day in Austin last month, and they brought the topic up that, you know, what do we do when we don't have the support we need in our life, even though we're making such improvements and such strides, such exponential growth in our lives? It's tough to think about the fact that there are people around us all the time, but maybe not necessarily people that we feel are in our corner or can be good outlets for it. So, I want to talk about the delusion involved in this. The delusion is that no one understands me. And it's a really simple delusion because I think that we probably think this every day without even realizing it. One of the things I most get resentful of in my life is when someone misunderstands me, meaning I know deep down in my heart I have a good intention, but someone else is taking it the wrong way. And it drives me nuts to know that that injustice is done. But what about when we say that in our hearts, just about anything? Like, I'm going through this and everyone else around me is treating me like I should be happy go lucky and I am so down right now. Or I want the best for myself, but I have people in my life that I want the better for. I want my children to be better. I want um, my husband and my immediate family members to be in a better position than me. You know, I'd love it if I could be happy, or I'd love it I could have this contentment, but I just feel that I'm not understood. I want to start talking about this delusion in the light of what you actually mean when you say that no one understands you and what you would want in return. If no one understands you truly, then they're certainly not there to listen and believe what you have to say. So, is there a part of you that is more disappointed that the fact you're looking for support is not only feeling unmet, but is it because you want to be listened to? Is it because you want to feel validated? Is it because you actually want to learn and grow? Is it because you feel that life is so unfair that you need to remind other people around you how unfair life is? I've been there. Sometimes I have to ask myself, is this really fair to me? Because I'm losing my mind thinking that I might be like the exception to the rule and everything is most unfair to me and pretty fair to everyone else around me. It's a perspective shift where we have to say, no, this is truly how life is. But sometimes you only get to that when you've had a real deep heart to heart conversation. So I would say I'm often in the camp of feeling like I want to be validated. And it's tough to say out loud because it doesn't seem very righteous. It seems more like I just want to know that I'm good. I'm doing the right thing and I don't care if I feel bad as long as I know I did the right thing. That's a dangerous goal when you're walking into a therapy session or walking into a conversation with a friend is, hey, I just want to call someone that I know will understand me. Right? And really it's maybe not even that they understand, but it's that they don't challenge you and they're not fighting your perspective. They're giving you validation. They're giving you a sense of feeling at peace with your decision or your feelings. But either way, you're looking from the perspective of someone else giving you that validation. And I have been so challenged on this in the last couple months where when I have a thought that's hard for me to go through and I have the instinctual urge to text someone, call someone, or ask someone a pointed question that I hope they'll answer in a positive way, it's kind of like putting myself in the limelight of needing someone else's approval. And that is its own subset of problems. Like, layer the unfairness you're feeling with trying to be a people pleaser. And now you just have a recipe for disaster in your own heart because you're never going to be able to truly find what that peace is because you're looking for someone else's validation about it. I also know I could bring the same situation to two different people in my life and they would have two totally different perspectives on it. I, in my life, have had many people that I've cherished and valued, but I think that I didn't properly assess whether I valued what they did, meaning, did they value a Christian faith? Did they value family? Did they value friendships? Or did they value bitterness and getting to harbor grudges? And did they value being right all the time? Did they value feeling like they could complain anytime they want because they know better than everyone else? But you know what? I'd go to those types of souls for advice so often. And of course, they'd bum me out. And of course, they'd make me feel like I was too innocent and too naive about how the world really works. And, they tainted a lot of what I thought in a hopeful light because they just felt like they wanted to also be the one to have validating advice. Just as much as we might go to people for that support to hopefully be understood, some people want to feel as though they are that person's answer. And that's scary too, because it's not supposed to be something that you are gaining anything from except the joy of knowing that you were there for someone else. But if you're using it as an opportunity to get to have someone trust you or feel more connected to you for reasons other than the pure satisfaction of being a helper and a servant, we might have to take some time to think through that. I know that people have been different uh, support systems in my life during different issues. I've had emotional issues, of course, but I've had plenty of physical issues. I still have the Tourette syndrome diagnosis story to tell. And there were a line of people that had made themselves ready and available to help me in that season. There were people that emotionally could relate to what I was going through postpartum. And that felt so validating, but from the perspective of knowing that I was not the only one. And that's another question I want to ask. When you're looking for support, is it because you really just want to make sure you're not crazy and that you're not the only one feeling like this? Because I think that is a very righteous way of approaching it, thinking I am just making sure that I'm not completely off the deep end, that this is a natural feeling of being a human. When we are in the thick of it, we focus on what emotions present themselves to be the most obvious and clearly the most extreme. And I think that the more extreme the emotion, the more shameful we feel of having it. I've felt shame for having very high elation, and I've had shame for feeling lower than low, which has happened lately. And I think it's because I'm focusing on the pain of how I've changed instead of the beauty of seeing the new grown person at the end of all this change. It's because of how extreme that emotion feels that I have in the past gotten shameful about it. And only by looking up some books in the library or Googling a Instagram account that would be able to speak more to the science behind why I'm thinking the way I'm thinking. Seeking Bible verses that are very attuned to knowing that loving oneself typically doesn't involve the support of other people. Now, I know in the back of your mind, you're saying, well, it's not always that I get support from other people. Sometimes I go to reach out to these people for whatever it is to be listened to be validated, even to learn. And I'm just not getting the attention that I want from it. And that's hard. It is. There are people I've really found to be close to me in certain seasons of life that when I've gone to them to ask for something of advice or to ask for just some support, they're not in the same season or mindset as me and they can't properly give me that support. And instead of making it a personal issue, we just have to move on and say, okay, that was not the person that I need to connect to on this issue right now. It's easy to say, don't take things personally. I take things personally all the time, and I have to catch myself in the moment and I have to say, is this really about me or is it something that I don't even know about? And likely it's the second one, that there's something that you do not understand, that we do not understand, which is ironic because that's what the delusion is, that we're not understanding of it, but that we choose to be understanding, that we say, okay, I gave it a shot and I asked if that person could serve that role for me, and they can't right now. Similarly, if someone came to me and asked for support and I knew that I could not righteously give it, then I don't want that burden that I know I wasn't supposed to be that support system for them. And it's part of setting boundaries too. All of these topics really do roll into one. Becoming a fully grown adult requires a lot of boundaries, and it requires you choosing the boundary over the comfort, because the boundary sometimes is not the comfort. You would rather feel the comfort of having someone validate you versus you're like, you know what? I need to think about this on my own. I need to journal about this. I need to pray about this. And I need to take this in my own hands before I try to disseminate all this information out to all my loved ones, my family, my friends. It's not worth it just for the point of being understood. In fact, what makes me feel so good is that I know if there's any one being that understands me better than I know myself, it's my God. And that's the first person I should be going to with any of my troubles. It's easy to take a topic that people around you know very well, either heartbreak or, you know, a downturn at their job, family matters, economy. It doesn't matter what it is, but a lot of those things are very relatable. And so it's second nature to almost go to those people that are outside of you but are in your circle enough to feel that they're a great resource for having you not feel so alone. But those people are not there 24/7. I don't want to put that pressure on anybody that they feel I can just call them in the middle of the night. Now I have really good friends that say that they'll do that for me. It's not that no one will, but I don't want to feel that I'm tied to someone's support in order to get me through because I know that that's not the truth. It's more of a crutch that I want to lean on in the moments when I feel the most distressed. So a couple resources that I would actually give to you as some starting points when you don't feel understood and you know that you could be understood, but you're just seeking it in the wrong way and perhaps making yourself more stressed than you need to be. So I mentioned the library before. Ever since I graduated college, I have been a fan of every library in every town I've lived in. I don't know what it is, but I think it's just the fact that for the longest time, I've been using the internet as my only source for content and information, and it's widely varied and it has a lot of um, interesting sources that come from who knows where to tell me who knows what. So, going to a library gives me a more succinct set of options when I'm thinking about learning why I am the way I am or why I think the way I think and to process it scientifically instead of emotionally. I'm not a scientific, logical person on the outside, but going to a library, finding resources that always seems to help me. It puts my mind in the right place of when I don't feel I even understand myself. How can I come to do that for me? I have used Chat GPT in the last couple weeks, asking questions about is it normal? I've started so many sentences. Is it normal to be 15 months postpartum and still feel all the emotions and still feel the hormone out of whack? Yeah, I've asked that. And it's provided me multiple resources and asked for other things involved. It's shown me threads of communities of people that have this same thing. Sometimes it's not about going to someone close to you. Sometimes it's about going to someone that might at first be a stranger, but they have that relation in your struggle in common with you. And it gives them the criteria essentially to be a good friend and to help you where you're needed. Every person that I've ever met that's had a struggle that they overcame it always seems to be willing and ready to help somebody else overcome that same thing. So when I meet people that are especially business women that are also moms now that are trying to break through generational curses, trying to become the most productive but whole and fulfilled self. And you're working through all these internal struggles while you're trying to just live life. Um, Anytime I find someone like that, I connect deeply because I know that they have things to teach me just as much as I have things to teach them. And those type of outlets actually serve for a couple good reasons because it starts as people to just listen to you and understand where you're coming from. And typically, validation follows it without you even knowing about it, and it's sincere. The validation, it's not like, yeah, I totally get you, and I would do the same thing. It's, no, I feel like this and have felt like this. And when I was in that position, this is what I did. And if you want help, let me know. And those are the types of groups that really get traction because it's going beyond a human connection. It's going and tapping into the actual circumstances of people that, again, want to be better. It's not about wanting to wallow, it's about wanting to rise up and be more aligned. And those groups are certainly helpful. I run the Mood and Mind Society on my side, where the one thing we all have in common is that there's something about our daily routines, whether it's nutrition or fitness or emotional and spiritual growth, that we want to pursue. But in the end, all of those things are wrapped up into the positive outlook of wanting to take a rough situation and turn it into something that is not only a testimony for later to share with people that God can carry them out and that there can be things that are done in a sense of hope instead of hopelessness. It really gets your attention and says, okay, I think that if I carry this pattern on of looking for those type of people instead of just the people in my corner that have always been there and just always seem to hang around, you know, then you're getting more out of the people that you are essentially investing your emotional vulnerability into, because that's another reason why we choose the people that we love instead of strangers. We don't want to be emotionally vulnerable with someone random unless we have a true core connection. And I think that sometimes our struggles and the things that we go through give us that connecting piece. So I'm on the hot pursuit right now of finding individuals that have ADHD, even Tourette syndrome, and are high functioning adults, having a job, having a family, and learning how to best understand, our own strengths and weaknesses to come to a better quality of life. And I'm going to be pursuing that going forward because I want to invest my time and resources where they belong. And I'm sure that the people that are in that group also want that from someone like me. I bring all this up today as this delusion because I am in a place of not feeling very supported. And it's not to say I haven't gone to the people in my immediate life, immediate circle, I should say. It's more that the things I'm going through feel very tender. And I don't necessarily even know how to deeply communicate what's going on with me. One of the best ways I like to get this out, besides prayer, besides journaling, and besides reminiscing on the gratefulness I have, is by listening to music. That's why I share music at the end of every podcast, because it really does lift me up and it seems to speak something into my soul and out of my soul that I can't seem to replicate any other way. So I have two songs, as always. The first is very much so EDM. It's called This Is What It Feels Like by Armin van Buuren and Trevor Guthrie. I listened to this song a lot when I was dating David. And I think the reason that I think of him every time I listen to this song is because, those were in the good old days of dating where we were thinking about like what our life was going to become, if it was going to include each other. Um, just the fact that we felt like this intimate connection of emotional depth. And that was not something I had experienced in every relationship I've had in the past because there maybe wasn't as deep of a connection to stem from. But when you listen to this song, it talks about how there is a sense of feeling like you don't know if you're going to make through it, whatever you're going through, and questioning all of the feelings and emotions that are rising to the surface. Um, asking questions like, I don't know how I'm going to survive. I don't even know if I'm alive. Without you now, this is what it feels like. And yeah, it's speaking in that way to a person that's making a crazy, impactful sense of passion and integrity in your life so that when you feel so separated from that person, it gives you reason to believe that all of this is meant to go nowhere and it was just a wild goose chase of a life. But anytime I listen to the end of that song, I think to myself, those feelings are normal. And being a human requires you to go through struggle. I see this clip all the time of Stephen Colbert, and I believe it was, oh, it's going to slip my mind. I'll think of it. He was speaking to, Anderson Cooper. That's who it was. And Anderson asked Stephen Colbert, you have said that what punishments of God are not gifts. And if he really believed that. And Stephen Colbert said, I do believe that it's a gift to exist, and with existence comes suffering. And you cannot live this life without fully acknowledging that The gift and the suffering coincide. And a lot of times the suffering brings you to appreciate what your life even is. And I have found that to be so integral to the song of This Is What It Feels Like. It's like I know that suffering can coexist with the goodness in my life, and support exists around me if only I'm willing to be emotionally vulnerable to go after the right people to talk about it with. The second song was also one I listened to all the time while I was with David in the beginning of our dating, was Light Up My World by We Are Leo and David Josiah. This was a song that I believe was on featured like on a Christian movie, like I think God's Not Dead Part 4 or something. Um, but it definitely entered the chat when it came to my Christian EDM. And I think that it's done a couple things for me. One is it is about the most upbeat EDM song I've ever heard for it to be a Christian song. It's really catchy and I'm very much into it. But on the other hand, the lyrics are so deep. It talks about it feeling so dark right now and knowing that we need more of God in that moment. Like that's just a sign that that's when we need more of God. And I think that of all the things we try to do as humans seeking to grow and be better people, we do want to come to terms with feeling that we'll get out of it somehow. And I think that this song always reminds me, yeah, but I'm not supposed to do it alone. In fact, I'm supposed to be coming right to the feet of Jesus with it. So it might feel a certain way right now, but God is faithful. He does carry through. And anything that requires support in the beginning, just know that you will actually end up being a support person for someone in the future because of what you've gone through. And I hope that you take this pod today and you think of all the things that maybe you don't feel 100% supported about in your life. Maybe it's because you haven't shared them and they've been kind of topics in the back of your mind that you've been carrying along, hoping that they eventually get resolved by themselves, but that you would actually find some people to be emotionally vulnerable with and to come to terms that we're not alone in this fight. There have been billions of people on this earth. You are not the only one that's feeling this feeling. And that feelings aren't to be ashamed of. They are only to bring you closer to what your true alignment is. All right, I hope you enjoyed this pod. Like and subscribe the pod. Go check out the songs, go check out the links in the bio. Check out the places you can be that involve you taking the next step, even if it's the baby step of finding another connection to grow with, downloading the Growth Day app to get yourself something to get in your system every day to know that you're working towards a goal of some type. Or maybe it's just that you need to drink some water and take a breath. But whatever it is, take the lesson of this pod and say, I'm going to be not only an open support system for someone else, whether they need listening or they need validation or they need to be given a lesson that I've walked through, or that you will be more willing to open up to them yourself. All right. Thanks so much. We'll talk next time.